Greetings, Commanders and Summoners for you Sky Kingdoms players. Welcome to another Fireside Chat video. For those of the uninitiated, Fireside Chat videos are not like normal Melt channel videos. These are long, relaxing, drawn-out videos where we talk about, I guess, meta, overview, less anecdotes, less proof, less forced content into one video. These are meant to be nice, long, relaxing videos where I could really focus on the flow of what I need to talk about instead of trying to cram everything into a nice compact video. So, without further ado, today's Fireside Chat is going to be about having a successful guild in this game. Man, this is such a weird game. I remember when I first started playing this game, I had been in other guilds. I'd been in EverQuest guilds. I've been in World of Warcraft guilds. I've been in a Counter-Strike guild. I've been in StarCraft guilds. Just, clans. You play this game with other players, and you guys interact, and that's what communities are about. This game was so much different than any game I've ever played, and the community of people that play games like this were so much different. In the Counter-Strike world, you have, a lot of just first-person shooters, a lot of substance abuse, a lot of interpersonal problems for people that are that hardcore into those games. So that was a weird community. StarCraft was a hardcore RTS community where everyone was all about build orders and just, it was less about being friends, but more about getting stuff from other people. And then this game is such an emotional game that the information and data is so valuable that players treat each other. There's a very high level of loyalty. What I'm getting at is some of your players are incredibly loyal players because they understand the importance of knowledge and working together in this game. And then in that same group of people, you can have total assholes who are just out there for themselves. They'll burn anyone they can. If someone upsets them in guild chat, they'll just leave guild chat and start hitting them. I'm sure as soon as I said that, some name popped in your head of who the biggest a-hole in your guild or on your server is. And if you want, just put in the comments below that person's name. Just call them out. But anyway, this game attracts a certain type of person. And people don't know how to behave when playing a game like this. People naturally organize themselves in situations they're comfortable with, right? So if they can relate to this game like another game, they'll act like they did in that game. Well, in this game, there really is no bar for most people. So people come into this game trying to figure out where they fit in. And they try to hang on to things like, I'm not an asshole, this is just a war game, don't be a little bitch. And it's that person's not a bad guy. They're kind of right, it is a war game. But I guess the way they deal with other people being criticized is a problem. So anyway, this is going to be about guild organization and the things I've learned, and hopefully to make you as a member of the guild a better follower, you as an officer or guild leader a better leader. And I think from being all perspectives in this game, I could tell you that there's a lot of perceived things about members of your guild that most probably aren't true. For example, I believe in the holy trinity of a guild. In order to have a successful guild in a game like this, you need to have three major elements. And some of those things are very rigid. For example, if you're going to have, let's start with the foundations, right? You need to have boss players. I call them spenders, right? Players that play a lot, maybe not as hardcore as all the players, but they play a lot and they spend a lot, which makes them the boss. So for example, Lurgo has 108 million power in our guild. Eversor has 74 million, Vicious has 60 million, Mister has 97 million. You can just tell by the numbers in our guild that the top 7-8 players that have the highest power have probably spent the most. And you need those players, because if you don't have, let's say, Lurgo or Mr. 1441, our guild would be a very powerful guild. We're very organized, we have great leadership, we work together well, but with them, they provide us the advantage, the maximum level gear, the highest level troops, the biggest leadership commander. And with us as a guild working behind them, we make those boss players even better. But without us, one-man guilds just don't do well. And a great example of that is when Vera quit last season. Vera is the reigning defending champion of the Galactic Battle Season 2 and 3. He quit in Season 4 because he just didn't have the support of the new up-and-coming players in GBD and ALD. They had boss players with the boss guild, great participation. They had the Holy Trinity, and Vera didn't. Vera had the money, and he had the organization maybe, but he didn't have the the real support of 70 players that were hardcore pushing him in the direction he needed to go. So maybe he wasn't a great leader either. He never really talked to me, and I tried to reach out to him. So I mean, not saying that he needed to. It just okay. So the Holy Trinity is: you need spenders, you need great leadership, and you need very high participation, organized, non-toxic participation. Right? So you've got to have a couple boss players, at least two guys that are willing to spend a few $1,000 or more, or a lot more. Because without those guys, you may have the other two. You might have incredible leadership and incredible participation, and you just become another one of those family guilds that's really fun to play in, and instead of trying to win galactic battles and be the top of the server, you just log in to play with your friends and fight the people that are trying to kill your friends, but you don't really have that boss player to all rally behind and say, guys, send 10% of everything you get to this guy. It'll be worth it. They're spending money. They're getting big leaderships. They're getting big gear. They're gonna win bigger fights for us. We're gonna back them up. So you got to have great organization. And the next thing is leadership, right? You've got to have a boss. You know, you've got to have a boss. And it doesn't mean you've got to have a nice boss. It doesn't mean you got to have a good boss. And just because somebody is an actual employer in real life does not mean they're going to be a good boss in game. In fact, it's probably the contrary. Employers, depending on the type of employer, obviously this is kind of a generalization, but I think the best successful leadership types of games like this are very hands-off and authoritative. So this is the type of game where diplomacy is not that important, democracy is mostly useless, and dictators are the best. People just want to log in, be told what to do, given some rigid rules, and they work within the confines of those rules. If you don't like the rules, quit the guild and fight them. But if you don't like them that much, stick around and see if it gets better. But I could tell you, I've been in nice guilds, and I've been in my current guild, which I'll tell you, it's not the nicest guild. The bosses can be a dick sometimes, and I didn't like that at first. And I learned over time that the bosses in this game, the leaders of this game, the officers of this game that send all those messages, that manage all those players, that organize alliances, that talk to the other guilds, that organize all the information for the guild, it's a lot of work, right? And when it's new, when it's fun, when it's fresh, like when you first start doing it, you get this recognition. There's like a serotonin release, like, oh, I'm being recognized for my efforts. I'm doing good things. I'm helping the guild out. People are enjoying the efforts of my labor. I'm getting something more than just what I'm putting into it. Eventually, after a month, they have to start dealing with the real bullshit, right? Players quitting because of drama. Some guy's girlfriend was talking to another guy in the guild, and the other guy's mad because his girlfriend plays with them. Or someone got zeroed, and they're crying and bitching and component. And who has to deal with that stuff? Yes, some of the guild members will help out, but mostly the officers and the guild leaders. And then now you got to start regulating the way they talk in guild chat, right? You don't want them just spreading all that bullshit to everyone else. You have to have a real firm stance, like if you don't like being zeroed, stay shielded. If you don't like losing troops, probably quit the game. You got to be an asshole, because I think a lot of people don't realize what this game is. And I don't know if I've said this recently, but it is just the absolute weirdest game. It's a nasty game. A lot of people start to play it and say, well, the best way to play this game and be good at it is to stay shielded, farm all the time, hit people really hard when you can steal their resources, and try to make peace with everyone. That's how you grow. Let me tell you something. That's stupid. This game is not about growing. And I think a lot of people get the wrong idea about me. They think I'm a nice guy. I make these videos. I'm helping everyone out. I help people out because I want to. I help people out because I want to interact with you. I want to have a community of people to play this game with. But don't think for a second that if you're on my server and you're not in my guild, I'm going to give you some kind of fair treatment or like an alliance. Hell no. I play a war game. I figured out long ago that this game sucks if you sit in a shield all the time and never attack anyone. You can literally play this game like a farming simulator all the way to the end until you hit the wall and say, all right, I beat the game. What else could I possibly do? I can get more leadership. I can get higher level gear, but the diminishing return is ridiculous. Or I can get more research, but let's see. What's the only thing left to get? What research don't I have? Research Lab 21, 40,000 unlimited crystals. Well, I'm not going to spend $4,000 to get this tier 11. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to pull out $7,000. So what am I going to do with this account? Well, I'm going to fight people. I'm going to PvP people. I'm going to destroy people. But it is a problem because on this account, and for those of you that don't know, I play Sky Kingdoms too. It's just Ark of War. It's exactly the same game with different skins. That's it. It's literally the same. A couple of the commanders are different, but it's essentially the same exact game. All the mechanics, all the gear, all the events, it's all the same. But I'm having way more fun over there because it's what Ark of War was when it first came out, the way it is designed. The way I'm playing it now is I woke up this morning and some guy had scouted a tile and I hit him just because someone finally let me have a chance to hit him. And this guy was a level 15. I zeroed him on accident. I don't even particularly dislike USB. I mean, they were my first enemy on my first server. I've always had a war with them. But I liked having a war with them. I need an enemy. I need to fight people. That if I log in and no one's trying to scout my tiles, no one's trying to fight my armies, I won't have any combat experience. I won't have nothing. There's no release, right? There's no, like, excitement. You know when you're sitting there attacking people's tiles, messing people up, and you see invaders are marching towards your ark. Boom, you get a little heart rate kick, right? A little adrenaline kick. You're like, okay, who's marching on me? You don't know who it is. You might think you might know who it is if you don't get a lot of enemies. But it's a rush. You don't get that if you just log in and stay shielded all the time. And you can get to a point where you just log in, stay shielded, never fight. I've known people that go months without ever attacking anyone. And then they eventually get to a point, whether it be 2 months later, 6 months later, that why are they playing this game? They'll just get to a point where there's no point in playing it. And when you fight with your main armies, it's so dangerous to go into a fight with your main armies because the repair costs would take months, years sometimes. I mean, look, let's do this. Let's do this math real quick to give you a really good example. Live in the video, I always mess the math up. I'm going to do the math right here. Okay. Each troop for Tier 10 infantry is 880,000. Okay, 880,000 food. Not to mention the unlimited crystal, right? The unlimited crystal, they're one each. I have 5,000. That's 5,000 unlimited crystals. That's over $300 in unlimited crystals, right? $500 if it's not a bonus. $500 in unlimited crystals just on troops. Just the base reagent. This little reagent right there, right over there. Oh, wait, it should be a 1. There we go. 1. And I have, look, 5,114. Okay? It's 5,000 crystals. It's $500, man. That's a lot. Now, don't get me wrong. You can farm those crystals. It's not easy, but if you want to be at this level, you're going to pay, right? So, what's the point of having the army, right? Well, to fight with it, but it's scary. So, what I'm getting back to is how much is this army worth? Well, 880,000 food times 5,114. That's 4.5 billion. Billion's a huge number. God, that's a big number. 4.5 billion food. 4.5 billion parts. Now, don't get me wrong. I got 500 million free resources when we had the anniversary event. 500 million. And I got to buy one, get one troop when I built the majority of these. I paid half price for these. So I got 500 million, and I built them at buy one, get one. But even at buy one, get one prices, that's still 1.7 billion food and parts I had to farm on my own. 1.7 billion is such a tremendous amount. People get this idea that as the higher you go up, the easier it is to get everything. Listen, if you farm 15 enriched food and parts tiles every day, it would still take you a year to farm that many. So how did I do it? Well, with the contributions of my guild, buying resource packs. It's incredible. So, going back to the point of this game, going back to leadership, going back to how to play this game, you have to start conditioning your players to get in the right mindset to play a game like this and to help them make the shift to become a player like this, in a game like this. Because if you knew up front what this game was, you probably wouldn't play it. So it all comes down to microseconds, right? Like the way how fast you make a defensive maneuver, how fast you garrison, exactly what kind of gear you put on, all that stuff. All the playstyle stuff is one thing, but the mindset of like logging in, kicking ass, taking names, and then not being, not feeling bad about totally destroying somebody. I guess there's this shift that has to happen because the game certainly gets more and more dangerous, or the risk of playing and the risk of fighting, it gets increased, which it should. I kind of don't like that part of it, but it should, because if you were taking the same risk for same reward as you did on day one, there's no, you know what I mean? It wears off. It just keeps exponentially getting more risky and more risky. So that's something that developers need to address. I'll talk about that later if I remember. I always say that and I always forget in these videos. But man, this is a long tangent, huh? For those of you that are not just listening to this in the background, that are actually like listening, going, "What is he trying to say? What is he trying to say?" What I'm trying to say is that, and the reason I'm even going down this path is because I'm not a nice player, right? I'm a really bad player. I've decided that the point of playing games like this is to take over the server, find the biggest guild on the server, and then let them have the server, and then day by day, member by member, kill every single one of them. That's what you do. You just kill everyone in the game until they all quit, until your name is right there on the server. That's what you do. And then when you have the server, you say, "Okay, devs, we want to merge. Merge us, merge us, merge us." That's the funnest, most exciting way to play this game. If you start into a merge and you're the highest power, you spent the most money, the server's in your name, you didn't have to even fight for it, they just gave it to you because they were afraid to fight, then what are you doing? You're sitting in a server, maybe shielded, maybe not. You've got your name on the capital, you change the flag, you hand out titles, you do things like that, but what's the point of logging in? Just so you can get the next tier troop, just so you can get 1,000 more leadership, just so you can unlock faster resource collection rate? No. The point of this game, what makes it fun in the first place, is sending your army at other people and killing them. Killing them to the point of they quit. And start over. I know that sounds so terrible, and I'm probably going to get downvoted for it, but you don't make it 2 years playing games like this unless you get to that mindset and realize that's the kind of game this is. And if it's not for you, don't downvote me, just quit playing. It's a nasty game. It's the most savage game you've ever played. You're going to have disappointments. You're going to get wrecked. You're going to get zeroed. I've done it. I've gotten wrecked 3 times on this account. Big time. Like, totally set me back. I got to keep my research and leadership and skills and stuff, but rebuilding an army is 90% of where your resources are. So, I mean, it happens. You got to be willing to take the hits, right? And if there wasn't that fear of losing everything, it wouldn't be exciting. But it is. It is exciting because there is that risk. So, you've got to condition your players to think like that. And the reason I want people to hear me say it is because, one, I want you to start thinking like that. I want you to start believing that, because it's a really unfortunate truth, but it is a truth, and you're still playing the game, so you may as well accept it. And you need to put that mindset off onto your players. And so when someone does get zeroed, or someone does get wrecked, or something terrible happens to your guild, you don't just stop playing. I mean, you can if you're like, I did what I could. That was the best. I don't want to compete with those guys. They want to pay more than me, and I'm over it. You could do that too. Restart a new account, play a different game, take a break, whatever. But you need to get in that mindset, because what is going to happen is, if you don't, other guilds will. You're not the only one who watches my channel, and they're going to start destroying your members. We're going to find your weak members. We're going to make them quit. Then we're going to find your what do we call these guys? Like your, I don't know, wolves in sheep clothing, guys that pretend to be wolf dogs, and they're like top 30, top 50 power. They pretend to be good fighters. They pretend to have good armies. They share replays of fighting monsters, but never players. They're just paper tigers, and as soon as they feel like you're not the strongest, most powerful player or guild in the server, they hop ship. Have to watch out for those guys. Those are the guys you want to get rid of. They're useless. They literally just take up space. Maybe they help on guild events and donate a lot to the bank, and if they do that, at least they're contributing to the boss. That's good. But if they're just sitting around, not donating, not fighting, waiting for the next big guild to join, you got to dump those guys. So let's get back to the Holy Trinity. Now, I want to remind everyone, if you've made it this far, these are the types of videos where I go on tangents for a reason. I don't want to structure them too much. I kind of just want to let them flow. That's what I do. The other videos, they're way more structured and rigid and scripted and all that. So for these videos, we just kind of rant it out. I like these videos. I like when YouTubers do videos like these, because I like to come back and watch them over and over to pick up things I missed, and frankly, just to talk about whatever I'm interested in that they're talking about that I can't get anywhere else, right? So that's why I'm doing it. I hope that's, I don't know. I don't even care if that's not what you're looking for. You're in the wrong place. So let's talk about leadership one more time. I'm going to recap that. I believe that dictators are better than democracies in a war game. I believe that one or two guys good cop, bad cop is the best way to do it. And I believe that you should never have peace with the number 2 guild. You can have peace with the number 3 guild. You can have peace with your sister guild or training guild of members that are trying to join your guild. You never hit them, never hit their tiles. Don't bother your sister guilds. They want to be in your guild. But never have peace with the second guild. If you don't have an enemy, your players are going to get lost. You know, waking up finding someone got wrecked is a great motivator to get people to log in and fight. I want to say never assimilate players. I want to say that never take on refugees, never take on rats from a sinking ship, but I would be a hypocrite if I said that, right? Obviously, there's exceptions. I have been in 3 or 4 different guilds. I am not loyal to any one particular family or guild. In this game, they're temporary. I am loyal to players that want to play, players that are smart, players that contribute to the main goal, players that know the main goal, and they wanted to go to that next level. That's why I left my old guild to get here. I wanted to be in this guild because I saw the way they work together. I saw that there wasn't a major language barrier. I saw the concerted effort of the entire guild working together to take them above the guild I was in. And I said, that's the kind of guild. And when I was rallying my guild to help me stop them, no response. All the players in the top 20, 30 power that acted all big and tough, they didn't want to fight. They didn't want to risk losing their troops. Even though the guild would have helped them, they just, no, I don't want to lose my troops. That's when I realized I was basically playing alone. I was a lone wolf in a big guild. As soon as I joined this guild, everything changed. And I really figured out how to make a progressive, ongoing, big, growing guild work. And along the way, I figured out what doesn't work. I figured out when players get, zeroed and quit, and how you can't fight it for too long. You can't say, hey, I'll give you $20 to come back. No, man, they're gone. They're gone. This game isn't for them anyway. And it's not that it's never going to be for them. They just might not be ready for it. Maybe they're too busy in life. Maybe they don't want to deal with the disappointment, the frustration. Maybe they just want to play Candy Crush, or maybe they don't want to play games at all. But this game's a lot. This game is certainly a lot. And you have to find out, I don't know, how to play it. I got lost on a tangent. I think that was important to say. I just don't know where I was going with it. I don't know. So I believe in authoritative dictators. I believe that you should just be told what to do. I think that if the dictator is not doing what's in the best interest of the guild, you should be able to call them on it and just message them like, hey, are you doing this, and what's your goal? Because I think you should do it like this way. You should be able to have that kind of dialogue. But you should be ready for the dictator to say, yeah, I know what you're saying, I'm not doing that. And just say, okay. Or argue more. Bottom line is that leader didn't log in to play his video game to argue with you about guild politics. If you think the guy's an asshole and doesn't know what he's doing with the guild, maybe you should leave the guild. But if it's good enough and you don't want to do the work instead, let him do it. He might change his mind in a week or two. Bottom line is that it's work to be management of a guild, and it's better when you don't have to negotiate and play politics with 6 other officers and do any type of democracy or voting system. None of that. Not the game for that. So, authoritative dictator. That's the way you do it. You should never have allies in the second guild. You should never take on players that are willing to leave their guild unless they give a really good reason and they offer something. Just because somebody has 8th power on the server doesn't mean they're worth anything. If they don't fight, I will take the 30 ranked power player on the server if he fights every day instead of the 4th ranked power player. You know what I mean? Like, what good is having the 4th ranked power if you're the best farmer in the game but never fight? You know what I mean? Like, so that's just something to consider. There's a lot of players at paper tigers, I think they call them. I don't know. I haven't used the term in a while. I kind of separate myself from those players. And frankly, a lot of those players have quit since I've started, doing these videos and stuff. So I don't run into them very often anymore. And for the most part, they stay away from me. So, all right. So we talked about running the guild. Authoritative, dictators, laying out the rules, not arguing too much. Leaders don't want to deal with that shit. Trust me, they can only take too much until they just, they're not interested. Also, guilds need officers. Guild leaders should not be sending out daily mails. Guild leaders should not be reminding players to donate to events. Guild leaders should not be reminding players when the galactic battle is this week. Guild leaders should not be telling people how many super equipment chests it takes to get an event item. You should have officers that know their role. Hey, every day at noon and midnight, just let the guild send out an email so when people log in and see their mail, they know what the event is that day. Just a reminder. They probably know, but it's good to let them know that every day there are people on, they are talking, they are pushing towards a goal, and then you need your socialites. You need people that talk in guild. You actually have to have like a heart and soul of your guild. If you just have a bunch of rogue alpha males in your guild, it's just a matter of time before they start eating each other. You need a couple girls to make it nice and sweet and say nice things and care about interpersonal relationships. You need a couple guys that are jokers, that are silly, that throw a lot of jokes. Maybe they're not all funny, but at least some of them land every once in a while. You got to have characters. You got to be entertaining. You got to be firm as well. If someone breaks the rules, give them a warning, give them a second warning. But if you say something and they disobey it or they talk back or whatever, they need to go. If they don't have common decency, if they don't know how to deal with people directly and act in a family environment, you need to be a wise leader and have compassion for people that aren't maybe mentally as stable or as mentally wise in interpersonal relationships as you are. Maybe they had a different maybe they had a rough growing up. Maybe they just have some rough edges that they need to work out in every new group setting. Sometimes we give people, we assume too much of people, and they just need to make a few mistakes to find where they fit in, right? Because fitting into a group as large as one of these guilds is not something that people come naturally gifted with. It's just something that sometimes they have to make a few mistakes. So be firm, and when they step out of line, you don't have to make it personal and tell them insults. Just, these are the rules. This is how you got to follow them. If you don't want to be a part of it, that's okay. But this is what we expect of you. So as a leader, you need to be wise and compassionate and be willing to give second chances, but you got to be firm, and you've got to be careful of toxic players that take advantage of other leaders or members that you see. You know when there's, a fox in the hen house. You know when someone's taking advantage of smaller players, asking for donations they shouldn't be. Be mindful of those guys. And they exist because they're predators. They're predators in the game and they're predators in real life. So it goes both ways. If you feel shitty about taking advantage of somebody because of their kindness and you don't do it, it says a lot about your character. If you see people doing it to others in their own guild, in your guild, you need to protect those guys. Protect the sheep, because they're good people. They're just being taken advantage of by predators. And those predators are in your guild. You need to talk to those predators about it or kick them out, because that can become a problem. Things will happen in like 3 months. I gave that guy so-and-so resources, and he never did this. It's like, yeah, man, you gave somebody money, and they promised to pay you back, but they didn't. That happens all the time in this game and in real life. So be mindful of those people. Yeah. Guild member management is an ongoing problem. I should probably give more real-life examples of that. I hate to put people on blast, because most of the people that had problems, that were trouble guildmates in the beginning, with good leadership and in time, with good patience, became good guild members over time. It just, some people had to take a few more licks along the way. But unfortunately, no one turns out to be just a perfect, fits right in the groove guild member. Everyone usually has some kind of settling period. Okay, let's get off guild management for a while. Let's talk about... What do we want to talk about? Teamwork. Let's talk about what makes a healthy guild. Okay. Well, first off, every day, or every time you upgrade a guild level, there should be an officer that says, hey, congrats, we finished member attack 11. Now, every day for your daily, donate to member defense. We're a PvP guild. We don't donate to electricity production or farming stuff. We take, right? We do not sow. I mean, we sow, but like we put all of our points into PvP stats. Got to have an officer doing that. I briefly mentioned earlier, you got to have officers that do all the work that the leader shouldn't have to do. The daily mails, the reminders, all that stuff. People say, I want to be an officer. What do I got to do? Perfect. You've shown initiative by just messaging me. I need help with this. Can you do this for a while? Let me see how you do. Great. Give them a trial as an officer. No permanent positions here. Just let them know that. Hey, And if they have a problem with it, like, well, I don't care what you've done or contributed in the past. What have you done for me lately? Because I got new up-and-coming players that want to be officers too, and whoever's showing the hardest work and drive and initiative is going to get the position. So that's kind of the mindset. No officer spots are permanent, and if players don't like that you demote them for not doing shit for a week, fuck them. Seriously, don't be like, oh yeah, but they were so helpful in the past. You tell them, hey, if everyone was like you and helpful for a month or two and then just stop playing for a week, should I just give everyone officer roles who were good for a while? It's not personal. We want you to come back and be just as good as you were and better, but you haven't been around, so I'm giving it to the players that have filled the shoes. You should be thankful. That's how a healthy guild works. And if they still got a problem, kick them. You got a new enemy. Maybe it'll inspire them to come back and fight harder. If not, they were on their way out anyway. Life goes on. You got to be firm about that stuff. Got to be willing to ruffle some feathers, and especially people that are willing to attack you about that. Like, you did this to me. It's like, okay, you're one of those people. All right, well, you got to challenge them. You have to. You can't be walked all over. Otherwise, maybe you shouldn't be the guild leader, which is fine. You can just be the member officer. You can just be the guild entertainer, the guild heart, or just a regular, nonchalant, low-key player. Because being a leader, being the member, or the top brass and the officers, work. It's work. Is there some form of prestige that goes with it? Absolutely. But it takes work. You earn the prestige. You get the name recognition. Your accomplishments are paid off in social recognition. So if you realize a month in that you don't like social recognition enough to keep doing the work, you may find someone else in the guild that's willing to take over. And okay. So part of being in a healthy guild is delegating as much work as you possibly can, and being mindful that some players have never been in positions of power. And even though having a mail all button, and I'm not even an officer anymore, having a mail all button and being able to kick people doesn't seem like a lot of power to some 16-year-old kid that's never had a job. That might seem like he's in charge of a bunch of adults now. You got to be careful that'll happen, and you got to keep those people in line. So be mindful of that. That goes back to saying that it's people need to be organizational behavior is very difficult to gauge in every person. You have to just see where they are and guide them to where you want them. And if it's not a good fit for them, don't force it. Let them come back to it. Show them what you wanted. If they don't like being that type of player, maybe they'll get to it in the future and they'll see the benefits of what you were trying to show them. But not everyone is going to be the perfect guildmate. Sometimes you got to let people go. All right, let's get off that rant. I feel like I'm mixed up there. Guild health. Okay, so having the members donate every day to a thing is like a good unifying. Everyone knows what we're working on. If you catch people donating to the wrong thing, you can call them out on it. Having a guild bank. Every guild needs a bank. One person who's dedicated to taking all the resources. Not all players want to shield all the time, especially in newer guilds. So whenever you have extra resources that don't fit in your hospital, right, you just go over to your cargo hold, check your information. I can protect 1.2 million normal resources and 600,000 cash. So if I got hit right now, I'd lose millions of resources. What I would do normally if I wanted to go PvP or something, I would mail all my resources to the guild bank. If I ever needed resources to repair or upgrade something, I'd contact the guild bank and say, hey, I need, something like this. I'd be like, I need 1 million of food, 1 million parts, and the way we do the format is like this: 1, 1, 0, 0, 1. And what that means is I need 1 million food, 1 million parts, 0 coal, 0 electricity, and then 1 million cash. And then I'll tell them what it's for, like, oh, bridge 16. And then they'll tell me if they can do it or not. Simple as that. And if you deposit enough, it should always be a yes. If you're borrowing, just say you'll pay it back. But mostly the money in the guild bank should be 90% of it should be going to your boss players, the guys that are doing all the work, spending all the gems, losing all the troops, the guys that can win or do damage in the fights that the other members just can't. If you don't have a 30,000 leadership commander with tier 9 to fight the other guy in the enemy guild that has the same type of commander, then you need to have someone to fight him. And if someone's already paid the money and willing to do it, send the resources to him. That's you fighting. That's you doing what you can for the war effort. And if you have 70 members doing it, all of a sudden that one player literally becomes like the power of 70 players. It's such an amazing thing when people don't realize that if you have everyone donating 50,000 of each resources a day, 250,000 resources times 70 players, what is that? Like 10, 12 million? Let me see, what is that? 250,000 times 70, 17 million resources a day. It's a lot, man. I mean, granted, that's divided by 5 for each resource, but, you know, that's still 3.5 million of each resource a day. Imagine what each player, that boss player can do with 3.5 million resources every day for healing, for upgrading skills. And 250,000 resources ain't nothing. You'll get that on passive income. You can still farm your own and keep 90% of everything you get, but you'll make that one player really strong, and that'll put you to the next level. So, how are we doing on time? 35 minutes? Oh, man. I always want to do like 40-minute videos when it comes to these fireside chats. I like them like that. Okay, let's get some good quality content to carry on this last 10 minutes. All right, so we talked about organization, guild members, the Holy Trinity. Let's go back to that Holy Trinity. You got to have a good, strong leader, preferably 2 leaders, good cop, bad cop, kind of offload the work there, and 2 guys that really just get along and agree, and they're on the same wavelength. If they butt heads and each guy knows they butt heads, one of them just needs to straight up say like, hey, just moving forward, you can be the boss. I don't agree with all that stuff, but I'll help you push it. You know, if you can get to that, great. If not, maybe they should step down. But 2 guys, good cop, bad cop, pushing in the same direction. That's great. Inside of your guild, you should have members on different time zones. You should have Russian, Asian, European, American players, right? So that capitals and war can be fought all around the clock. People can protect each other all around the clock. Everyone should be on Line or WeChat or in Discord. You should have all your members in Line, WeChat, and Discord. That way, if they're unshielded, you can get a hold of them. That way, if anyone needs help, you can get a hold of them. You should be able to mass mail everyone. They've got a ton of time and money into these accounts. Get them online. If they refuse to get on Line or WeChat or Discord and something bad happens after you've already warned them to get on those social apps, I mean, how much more are you going to put up with until they either quit or, you know, you got to kick them for somebody that is willing to be a team player. So get on your social apps, guys. Okay. What did I miss? Probably more about organization and play style. Yeah, let's drop that. Let's go back to something that I just want to talk about and get off my chest. So, and I kind of said it earlier, the Melt channel, this whole project, is really just, right, me having fun. Me finding a way to entertain myself and other people and learn more about the game and have a good time doing it. That's what it's about, right? Sorry, some shit just happened in this game. That's what it's about. That's why I do it. But I've also realized that it is a savage war game, and in order to have fun, you really want to fight as much as you can. You don't want to stay in a shield, get a big army, max out your research, and only fight in Galactic. You don't want to do that. You will find yourself at the end of a paywall, looking down, you know, a money pit, and that's the only way to go forward. Don't do it. So make enemies with the second guild on your server or the first guild on your server and aim for server domination. Tell all your members that's the plan. You know, don't try to sugarcoat it. You know, don't try to make friends with enemies in the other guild. If anyone on the other guild tries to make you a deal like, hey, I won't hit your tiles if you don't hit mine, kill that guy. That guy is a shitty guild member for that guild and yours. You don't want that guy around. That guy's a loser. He's a loser. You know how you earn respect in this game? You mess people up. You take all their tiles out, they take your tiles out, and you know that if you hit their tiles, they're coming for your tiles too. So that's how you do alliances in this game. It's by fear. If anyone wants to weasel and use their words to try to, let's have peace, we'll agree not to hurt each other. No, that takes you down a road. You know, that takes you down a road where then that person tells their friend and the next person's mailing you. Next thing you know, you're going to have a peace treaty on your hands. And people are going to say, you agreed to this? You don't do any of that. Make enemies. People have more fun when they feel like there's a common enemy and they try harder. They log in more. There's more to look forward to. If you logged in and no one attacked your tiles, no mail came in all day, how boring would that be? So, I think it's good to send out guild mail all to everyone. Let them know this is the main goal, guys. We are currently the number 3 guild. What we want to do is we want to take over as the number 1 guild. In order to do so, we need to kill every tile for this team. If you ever find these 3 players, these 7 players, message the guild all, go on the line chat and tell us we found them, try to zero them. But once the guild has a concerted effort to take out the enemy, it becomes a lot more fun. And when people start getting good battles in guild chat and winning tile wars and scoring big in the kill events, it's even more exciting because there's a unified goal. If the goal is to lay low and kill the number 4 guild who refuses to ally with the big 3, it won't be long, maybe a month, maybe 3 months, until half your guild is gone, going to look for something more entertaining. You gotta have PvP, you gotta have war, you gotta have strife. You gotta be the bad guy, and it's way more fun. So, yeah. I think there's more to that. I'm just not touching it right now. I think there's more to enjoying it. Because I can tell you right now, once you take over the server, once you destroy that other guild, once they all quit, it feels good. You won. You conquered. You came. You sailed. You conquered. Isn't that what the game intro screen says? You came, you sailed, you conquered. Once it's all said and done, you and your guild did that together. You worked hard. You'll remember the events of how you did it, what you overcame, what you lost, members you lost. And it was fun. It was exciting. You know, it was high risk, high reward. And then you move on to your next server. If you don't have that, if you have peace with 3 other guilds and nothing happens for weeks on end, it's the boringest game of all time. You may as well go play Farmville. So what's the point of spending money, getting better equipment, upgrading your skills? It doesn't make sense to do any of that stuff unless you're using it all the time. And yes, you're going to take losses. But losses is negative progress. I'm trying to get to the next level. It's like, well, why? The next level isn't what you think it is. It's just more risk. Just keep fighting it out. Find out what you enjoy. Don't be afraid to lose it all. You know, being the first place, the number 1 guy, the biggest castle in this game has a lot to do with how much money you spend. And that doesn't mean they're the happiest guys. And those guys end up quitting. The number 1 player in the game doesn't last for too long. They end up quitting. And that's usually because of the kind of money they spent, they just don't care. They can spend that kind of money and not think twice. The money's not keeping them here. You know what I mean? Like, I spent $100. I can't quit now. That should be the last reason you're still here. So, what else? That pretty much covers a lot of that guild organization. I certainly didn't drive home a lot of the things that I think I should have packaged in a nice tight bargain, nice tight deal. So, let me try and do a conclusion, and we'll bring this nice mellow fireside chat to the end. There's a lot of different ways to run a guild in Ark of War and Sky Kingdoms. But if you want to run a successful guild that you enjoy playing, that isn't work, that isn't drama, that's all excitement as often as you can, then you need to run it with 2 leaders, with a dictator style, no democracy. 70 of your 76 members need to be hardcore players that log in every 10 to 12 hours. They never go more than a half a day without logging in. They donate to a general guild bank. The guild bank is always online. He's always keeping tabs on the players so he knows who's working and who's not. And then you need to have a couple boss spenders. 2 boss spenders that have the highest level gear, the biggest armies, the biggest leadership, the highest level troops, and they're the smartest players. 2 boss players that are spenders. 2 leaders that are also dictators, not necessarily the same guys. The boss of the guild and the organizer of the guild, the leader of the guild, doesn't have to be the biggest fighters. In fact, those 2 biggest fighters probably shouldn't be burdened with the hard work of managing all 70 players. And then you need 70 other players who want to be along for the ride. They want to help out. They want to fight. They want to be a part of the big name guild. They want to get to the next level. They want to be in the strongest guild. But most importantly, they want to fight, right? I think that's most. You don't want players that are just there that ride the coattails. Those are the worst players. And sometimes people can't help it. Sometimes their armies, there's just not enough people to fight on the server, and they could fight against people that are way above them, and the losses they would take are like 10 to 1 every time. It doesn't make sense for them to only fight those players if you did such a good job of destroying the server. So don't punish them too much. Sometimes players get stuck in those ruts, but as long as they keep contributing, keep building, and they're good people to have around, it's a good, healthy guild. But peace is bad for business is not just a motto. I don't just say that because it's something I can end my videos on. I mean, certainly it makes it easier just to be like, instead of saying, thanks for watching, please subscribe, bye. No, I don't. Peace is bad for business. It's more than a motto. It's how you play this game. If you don't encourage war and you do allow peace, peace builds complacency. Peace discourages excitement. It discourages fighting. It makes a lot of work for officers to argue with other guilds' officers about tile disputes. So-and-so attacked my tile. I lost 500 tier 2. He needs to let me hit him or give it back. Or they accidentally attacked our alt guild. Blah, blah, blah. All tile disputes should be handled by players to the players affected. They should be able to resolve it on their own without getting any officers involved. All that should be said of it is, hey, so-and-so from our allied guild hit my tile. I lost this. I contacted them. They apologized. We're good. If it happens again in a week, that player does it again on the enemy guild, you report it again to the guild. Hey guys, in the guild chat, so-and-so hit my tile. I lost this. I contacted them. They apologized. Done. If it happens a third time, there's obviously a problem with that player. They're new. They do too many drugs, whatever. Then you bring it to one of their officers in the enemy guild and say, hey, your so-and-so player's hit me 3 times. You know, tired of warning him. You know, can you talk to him so it doesn't happen again? It's not helping. If it happens a 4th time, or the guy's just a total asshole from the start, you should tell that enemy guild that, hey, this guy's an asshole. He hit me. He didn't apologize. He hit me again. Whatever. You got to be you've got to be mindful that complaining about guild politics and stuff is not something people enjoy doing. It's work. So handle that shit on your own. People don't log in to handle your drama. If members of the enemy guild or ally guild are being assholes, let the leaders of that guild deal with it. You know, maybe make it a public statement in guild chat, but don't direct it at anyone. Don't make someone feel like they have to reply to your drama with some bullshit, 2-hour heal on your commander and a couple hundred tier 2. It's just really, you want to bug people with that. So be mindful of that. But also, keep note of it too. Say it in guild chat, like I said. Don't just, you don't want to just completely pretend like it didn't happen, right? So just be mindful of that as a member of the guild. And I'll end on this. If you want to be a good leader of a guild, you should be a good follower first. I think I heard that in Game of Thrones, but it is so true. If you've never dealt with the bullshit and complacency of being a member, you wouldn't understand if you just became an officer. If you just, I am the leader now. I am all being. Do what I say. You have to know what it's like to be a member in a guild like that. So when situations come up, you can handle them the right way. So if you're a natural leader and you found yourself in a follower role, be an amazing follower. Be the best follower. Make it so that your leaders that are doing all the work because you get to be a follower, make it easier for them. Make them appreciate being a leader, because it's rewarding to have a concerted effort, team working together, achieving goals. So be a great follower. And if you're a leader, be firm, be strong, but don't be an asshole. Sometimes people are just having a bad day. Maybe their first impression is always just a little rough. Maybe they need to work on it. Maybe call them on and be like, "Ooh, man, that was a pretty rough email. Are you upset?" Well, I understand why you're upset, but let's tone it down a notch. What's going on? Maybe that's just what they need to hear one time. Have a little compassion. So, that being said, let's wrap this thing up. Peace is bad for business. It's a shitty game sometimes. You got to ruin people's gaming experience by destroying them. It happens. They chose the wrong guild. If you never gave them an opportunity because they're a bad player or they have their chances, but if they're on the other side of the field, this is what this game is about. Kill them. Sometimes it's not nice, but it's better than not doing anything. Right? Peace is bad for business. People get complacent. People quit. You lose interest. That's what happens. If people just sit around shield all the time, it becomes just a stagnant game. Guild leadership is the holy trinity. If you only have the holy trinity is if you only have great leadership and really high participation, but don't have boss players, you're never going to be a top guild. You got to have those boss players to strike fear in your opponents and to give your members someone to rally behind, to have faith in, that their efforts and their resources and their contributions are being put towards someone who's actually getting value out of them. And you got to have communications amongst all levels of players. Not too much communication where it becomes work, but enough communication that people still know there's a concerted effort, there's still a familial involvement, there's still a teamwork thing going on. Daily mails should only be about events going on, major events, right? Like something crazy happened, like a boss got zeroed on our team or their team. Mail should be about reminding people to donate to the bank once a week. Mail should be about the events twice a day or once a day. Guild mail should be about galactic battle when it's coming up, what to expect, reminders to build meat walls. Guild mail should never be about donating to a single player. Guild mail should never be about drama. try to keep guild mail all very, very limited, because it's a push button notification on the phone, right? If you guild mail all, it actually notifies all 76 members of your guild that someone's talking about them, they need to log in. So use that power very wisely so that when people do see it, they know something important happens. But if you get a push notification at noon and you know that a new event started, it's probably about that event starting. But if you get a push notification at 4:30 on a Tuesday, something's going on. Something important's going on. You should log in for a minute and check it out. So be mindful of your push notifications. And I think that's a good start for how to be a successful guild leader and guild member, and what a guild looks like in this game. I haven't really thought about. There's so many other elements to being a good guild leader, and what this guild and what this game is and what guilds look like. But I think that experience, all that should at least get people, I don't know, enough to work off of, that they can ask questions if they have specific things they want to talk about. You can just put it in the comments below. You can ask in line. You can ask in Reddit and Discord. Remember, if you ask a really difficult organizational behavior question in line, it's probably going to get overlooked. It's people. A lot of the line chat is very like one-off, kind of like, what's the best item for this situation? That's an easy question. But asking organizational behavior questions, there's so much more to it. Maybe you want to put that on Reddit or Discord. What else? I got anything else? I think that's it, guys. Thanks for sticking it out, man. If you guys like these Fireside Chat videos, let me know. Give me a like, or write a comment. I always encourage writing comments on videos like this, because there's so much content here. This is a lot of us interacting. If you've got anecdotes about your guild members, a story you want to share with other people that are listening to videos like this, put it in the comments below. Tell us your story. If it's good, people upvote it. If it's really good, I'll super like it so a lot of other people see it. But this is the place where people that play this game and lead guilds and follow in guilds come to talk about this exact type of content. And there's not a lot of other places on the internet to talk about it. So if you got something you want to say that relates to this, or just want to critique what I'm saying, put it in the comments below. That's where we interact a lot when we're talking about direct topics like this. So, all right. Enough of all that. Now you know why peace is bad for business. I hope you guys enjoyed this Fireside Chat. This is number 5? Yeah. Yep. I need a drink. It's Saturday. I'm going to go have fun tonight. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. You guys know what this means? I used to mean war. I used to say war, but it just sounded weird. Now it's just, instead of peace, shit, I missed.